Hi, comic book readers, and welcome to another episode of Off the Rack, the live comic book show where we take books in the past week and recap and review them, tell you what we thought about them, and then recommend comics that are coming out this week that we think that you should pick up. I'm Sal.
I'm Tiffany.
So we're going to be talking about all kinds of comics. I'm very excited to jump into it, but before we do, gotta do a little bit of housekeeping, letting you know, of course, that this show is sponsored by viewers like you. If you're watching the show live, you can use Super Chats, ask a question or comment, and we'll read it here on the show, and that sponsors the show and keeps corporate entities out of the show so that we can talk freely about those kind of shows or about these comics and stuff. That way, also, we can do reviews of other like comic related media like movies and TV and stuff like that. That's always fun. Of course, don't forget to check out twitch.tv/ComicPop and watch Tiffany play video games, usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays. What are you playing right now?
I don't know yet. We just were playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. I don't know if we're gonna do it again this week or jump into something new. I was thinking about replaying the first Batman game, Arkham Asylum.
Arkham Asylum,
we've played all of the other ones on stream, but I've played that one myself.
Yeah, of course.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's true. And it'd be nice to see if it holds up. We also want to mention that we did some sprucing up over on patreon.com/comicpop. So if you want to help out and support the channel in a more direct way, you can always go to patreon.com/comicpop and check out the rewards that we have there. And you also get a little early access to stuff when we can afford to make that stuff early. So go check that out. And all links for everything that we do is in the description box below. I should also mention, of course, that we cleaned up our Facebook group quite a bit. We've been inundated by bots. Facebook is just getting more and more terrible by the second. And not the group necessarily, but certainly the outfit that is Facebook. But it was like really bad. So I went in and I put a bunch of like restrictions and roadblocks in place to kind of spruce it up. And I think it's gonna become a lot better.
Excellent.
And it was hard because I was like very close to deleting the entire group, but I saw there were like 3,200 people in there, and I'm like, that's not their fault. So if you want to check that out, you can, and you're less likely to see the worst things imaginable, because that's what we were having a problem with. By the way, it's interesting. Someone would submit a report when they saw a comment that they didn't like that was in contrast to their own personal opinion, and that was like I got a push notification on my phone. But when there's like hardcore pornography posted as a GIF, no report whatsoever, no problems at all. So that's classic Facebook for you. Just the worst, just the dregs. So I wouldn't recommend joining Facebook at this point ever, but I would recommend you join our Discord, which has a link in the description, of course, of this video. Our Patreon is a fun little community that you can join without actually having to pay anything. You can still participate in many ways. In the comments of this video, in the chats, the live shows, Twitter is better, at The Real Zoobs, at Sal Says What. And plenty more.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some comic books. I read Predator #1 from Ed Brisson and Kev Walker. This was supposed to come out like years ago, and then there was some dispute as to who owned Predator, and so they just shelved it until it was time.
Was it years, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Like during / pre-pandemic, we're supposed to have this, and it doesn't show. Honestly, it's just a Predator book. Like,
it is a little weird.
It is a little weird, though.
There's a couple of things that happen in it that made me think of the movie.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wait, why would you just do that?
Well, the opening of the book basically cements it within the context of the Predator movies.
Yeah.
So it says that Predator 1, 2, Predators, and the Predator all happened. I
just ignored that one.
I was like, why the hell would you do that?
Just ignore that.
Like, why would you do that? Like, when they make the Alien books and when whatever the hell that awful Philip Kennedy Johnson Alien book is, even then they're like, oh, Alien 3 didn't happen. But with this, they're like, oh no, the alien resurrection of Predator, that definitely happened.
Right.
Just terrible. That being said, this is pretty much divorced from everything.
I meant there are a couple of things that happen in this that make me think of the movie.
Like what? The latest one. Yes.
Yeah,
Prey, you mean?
Yes.
Well, that's good because
but in a way where I was like, wait a minute. Not necessarily somebody's ripping somebody off, but it was just weird. There were there's one very specific thing, and then there's another the mandible thing.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, that's exactly what happened in Prey. Wow. Yeah. It's set in it's set too recently, but still in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too recently because
it's 2057 or something.
Yeah, I don't know. In this world,
we nailed interstellar travel.
We got it. No, it is a little soon. You're right, but I'm gonna guess they're trying to work within some other timeline that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess it's kind of neat. Maybe there's some more to it.
They also took pains to not make any reference to the xenomorphs in any way, to the point where we see on board his Predator ship, and we see a whole bunch of skulls. Xenomorph skull, not there.
Not there at all.
So who knows? I mean, Marvel is Marvel, and they make really boneheaded decisions. So it could be that they're like, no, Alien and Predator are two separate franchises, and there will be no crossovers between them. Or they could be like, hey, no, like we want to bury the lead. Like when Alien and Predator crosses over, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, that could be. I'll be honest. This was a fun book.
Yeah,
but for a lot of it, it felt like it would have been a better Alien pitch.
Absolutely. Yeah,
like,
no.
There was just something about it.
Oh, the fact that it's interstellar space travel and it's about that universe.
And like it was the setup. They on the planet. They're like chronicling the flora and fauna. They're trying to figure out, like just discover the planet just in general. And I'm like, I get it. Predator's gonna show up. That's fine. That's the book I'm reading. But there's just something about like her hiding on the ship, the design of the ship. There was just a lot to it that made me think more Alien than it did Predator.
Yes.
There was also a lot in this book that made me think of two different properties you've written.
Yes. I did get some Flight of the Binturong vibes on when they were on the ship specifically, where I was like, wow.
And there was like some Sestra vibes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
I don't think that. I don't think they actually took it
at all, like even remotely. I'm just saying, like,
yeah, like, exactly.
You do a good book.
Thank you. You're very sweet. But yeah, Predator. It was fine. It wasn't bad in any way.
No.
I liked Kev Walker's art. I thought it was fine. Again, it wasn't like swinging for the fences like a Predator book from Marvel should be. It's like if you wrench a property that is beloved by a small group of fans, which is all you're going to attract with a Predator comic book, from the publisher who made an R-rated Predator book for so many years, you better have a damn good reason. And even if you don't, you better show that you have a damn good reason in the product you produce after the fact. Right?
Yeah,
it better look awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
and it better feel awesome.
Oh, sure. It's just that like that flashback stuff just made me think Alien, more than it did Predator. And like it's so funny to recognize like we've all seen countless Predator movies, right? And there's like kind of a formula to it, right? But like with a comic, you definitely have to pace things differently. Like we can't have a slow build.
No, because there is one in this, and it very much.
I'd say there isn't, because I mean the book's called Predator.
Yeah,
I mean even when you go to a movie, the movie's called Predator. It's going to show up, right? But like it takes a bit. We work into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a bit of a build for some of these, but like with a comic, you don't have that time. You don't have that luxury necessarily, unless you're doing something that's like an original graphic novel, where it's like you already got the full price because someone purchased the book as a whole, as opposed to being worried about being canceled as like like on issue 3 or whatever.
Yeah,
this is one of 6.
It's a mini series,
but even still. But I was like, like they have to do it. I completely understand it, because it's like you got to get that action in. You got to, you got to show a Predator,
right?
You got to show fighting. You got to show some action.
Yes.
We got to get into it.
Yeah.
There's no time to be like, oh, it's this type of book, and then the Predator shows up.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
I hope that Marvel has enough like strength in their management and editorial that we'll see that in the hopefully inevitable Marvel Predator crossovers. Like if we're going to get the Predator formula in that it's a action movie that is then interrupted halfway through by a Predator character, then I would hope it's like Punisher versus Predator or Wolverine versus Predator. And that's when we get like, it's Wolverine and he's patched and he goes to Madripoor and he's going to do this. And then the Predator shows up, or he's like, I'm smelling something I've never smelled before, and then we bet the Predator thing and it just ends up in the Savage Land and he's like practically naked and he's like, I got to kill this thing. Like that would be what I expected.
Dropping the Predator into the Savage Land is like dropping a kid into a candy store. It's like literally that.
You could get away with saying that the Predators have been coming to Earth forever, but they've only been going to the Savage Land, and that's how you explain that we've never seen them in the Marvel universe before. But this book was fine. It doesn't necessarily it justifies its existence in as much as it is a decently made comic book that is well written and it has fine art. Again, it doesn't, I don't think, prove itself against the decades of previously established Predator books, which are hit or miss. There are some Predator books that I've read from Dark Horse that were not great.
That's fair.
And this is better than those.
Sure. I mean, I think we have to see where it goes as the first issue.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's a girl against the predator, which I'm sure in the books we've seen stuff like that.
Yeah,
before.
we've seen it before. But
it made me think of Prey, the Mandible thing. It made me think of Prey.
Yeah.
The fact that the predator seemingly are becoming the hunted.
Yes.
Made me think of Prey.
Right.
It's just so funny that these two things are coming out, even though they were developed completely
separately.
I guess two separate entities.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so interesting.
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I thought the art was nice. I wasn't expecting to dig it as much, considering it wasn't quite what I was imagining for a Predator book. But like, it was like, for me, a weird blend of like, hey, that's a cool looking Predator, and look at all this dope action, and also sort of Chris Bocciolo in a way.
Yeah.
Like early Bocciolo.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had some fun vibes. I dug Walker's art. I was like, this is what I would hope for from something like, I want to say Lemire's Sentient. Remember that weird, I think it was a TKO book. It was that, you didn't read it, but I thought you might have remembered that it was like promoted because they sent us a whole bunch of them. But like, there was that one about like the ship. It's literally about a ship that protects a little girl. And I'm like, oh my God. Uh-oh. But if you did a book, like Kev Walker could draw a really good Flight of the Binturong sequel.
Yes.
And that's why I was like, oh, this works.
That's exactly what it reminded me of. Holy crap.
Yeah, no. And I think Walker would do a good job in an Alien book too. Like, this works. Yes. The Predator's fun. And the idea of her using, and I like the sentient life she runs into and them being the hunted. And, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fine. It wasn't like, oh my God, it wasn't like Prey, where I'm like, this is a reinvention. Not even a reinvention, but like you fixed it.
But the difference there is that you got to see the entire story. We haven't seen the entire story yet.
That's true. 6 issues. Who knows? Maybe it's like really, really cool. But it's not bad. This is not on a bad premise. It's not, or at least it's not like it's got one foot in the swamp. I'm okay. Yeah. I'm okay with this. But yeah, so Predator 1 debuted, and it's fine.
Yeah.
That's overwhelmingly fine.
Agreed.
All right. I read this while you prep for your next book. I'm only going to talk about it briefly, but I read this under a misunderstanding of who was working on it. So I was just like, oh yeah, I'll read this. That would be, of course, Dark Crisis, Worlds Without a Justice League, Green Lantern, #1. These titles are very long.
I also featuring Hawkgirl.
Yeah, I didn't read it.
I love that at the bottom.
Yeah, because
it's very old school. Except it's not in a bubble.
Yeah.
It's not in a bubble jauntily placed on the side of the comic.
That's because back then, if they did that, it would be because Hawkgirl appears in the book, as opposed to it being like, no, we don't trust a Hawkgirl book.
Yeah.
So we're just going to put her story in the backups of Green Lantern. Not unlike Justice League Dark, for example, which you would just cram at the end of a Justice League book.
That's fair.
But this was written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art by Jeremy Adams, and it just explains the universe of Sector John Stewart, which is, he didn't even bother.
Okay.
That's not even, it didn't come up.
Sure.
But basically, John Stewart is the guardian of this reality. And so there are no guardians. And John Stewart's kind of like the end all be all. And he creates the Green Lantern Corps, and that he resurrects his dead sister, and basically takes the power battery and puts it into her to allow her to survive. And they're under threat of what is essentially like a kind of monster / Omega, like Dark Side, New Gods, whatever, Pariah's Dark Army kind of manifestation that's trying to like enter. I don't know. It's a fun little space book, and but it does like give you some John Stewart, like, hey, good for him.
Right.
He's a big deal. And here are the things you understand about John Stewart, and watch him be powerful and save the day. And he's like, the main impetus behind this universe.
Have they let go of like what John felt like,
Oh, that's gone. Okay. No insecurities, no yellow, no deaths. It's just all he wants is to be retired from having been the guardian of this reality, and like being the lone survivor. Like, it's basically,
as long as he doesn't say in this, because he's technically a space cop, I'm like 2 weeks away from retirement.
No, he does not say that. He had already been retired.
He'll be okay.
But they pulled him out of retirement to save the day, which he does, and it's fine. I know there's another one. I'm probably not going to read any more of it, but like it was well executed, and the art was cool. Jeremy Adams did a nice job with the art. It was just like a fun, good looking.
I dig the cover.
The cover's gorgeous.
I don't know who did the cover, but like, whew.
Yeah, that would be Fernando Blanco. But
it's great.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, it was co-written by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Jeremy Adams. I'm guessing Jeremy Adams did the Hawkgirl book, but
yes,
Jackson Herbert did the art. I apologize, that was my mistake.
No, you're not. No. Blanco did the art on the inside of that one, and then Herbert did the one for Hawkgirl.
Okay. You know what I'm doing? I'm looking at this thing, and this says that Jeremy Adams is a writer.
Well, she is. He's a writer on the Hawkgirl one.
Right, but I'm just So, but I said he was the artist because he was just the next one up.
Oh no, I think Fernando Blanco did it.
I think you might be right.
And I think he also might have done the cover.
Yeah, well, the cover's gorgeous. It's very different from the interiors, but the interior is still awesome.
Oh, cool. Well, what I like about it is very dynamic. Like,
I agree.
It is a beautifully dynamic cover that like it just. I don't know. It gives me vibes of like underwater or like something like that. Maybe it's not. I think it's
it should. It's space. No, it's just, but it's space and underwater are like two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
If you want to like depict space, shoot your thing underwater. Like just it's cool. It was a fine issue, but whatever.
That's dope.
It didn't really help to like give me more context for Dark Crisis, but it was
fun story.
If you miss the Jeff Thorne, Jon Stewart stuff, then here's another little like insight into Jon Stewart, like since they ended that book.
Yes.
So here's some more. Really quick, I just want to jump into some super chats while you prep your next book.
That's fine.
But Brian Rollins,
I can extra prep.
Great, says a little extra for Comic Pop as an early birthday present for myself. Well, happy birthday, Brian! Thanks for being here, man.
Happy early birthday.
Amazing Spider-Man wasn't bad this week, but Giant Size Gwen Stacy was the best Spider-Man book I've read in a while. Comic Pop rocks. I thought about reading it and I just didn't.
I saw it and like I gotta tell you, the $10 price tag, I was like, I wonder if Sal's gonna grab that or not. But then when I grabbed it, it was because it was really like the finishing of a story and a reprint of 2 of the issues that were part of that. So I was like, okay, you're getting a lot for your dollar there.
Right. Dan V900 says, I watched the Superman versus Terminator episode of Back Issues, which is a fun, stupid, weird episode that we did for no good reason. There was a pitch to have Batman versus Terminator by Tom King in the same vein, with Matrix Supergirl having fire wings. Tom King and Supergirl with fire wings. Coincidence? I think not. Where are your royalties? I know what you mean, man. It's no, I would never expect an idea that I put out freely into the world to be credited to me.
The only one that you can get is if they ever do Predator on a pirate ship.
Yes.
And Tom King writes.
If Tom King or any Tom King related people.
Tom's just going to be like, I had this great idea.
Yeah.
Predator on a pirate ship.
I just wanted to tell you it was stupid because then you would like reject it, like Morty being interested in writing a heist movie. Jaron Smith says, hey, Sal and Tiffany, how are you liking Dark Crisis? I hope everything got resolved for Emerald City. Actually, it's gotten worse for Emerald City, so we'll see what happens. But as far as Dark Crisis goes, I'm digging it, but I am sorely missing a protagonist for that story. And you think it's a bridge too far? It's asking a lot of its audience.
I am not invested in it so much. I am definitely reading it, and I am hopeful that by the end it does a heel turn for me and like becomes something that like I'm rooting for. But that said, I am happy for those who like it because a lot of people have event fatigue. So to find an event that you're like on board for is an exciting time for people who are digging it. So like that's great. But for those of us who aren't a big fan of it, I'm just kind of like, okay,
right,
it'll be over.
That's true. As opposed in regards to cons, Tiffany and I will be at ZappCon with 2 P's. That's ZAPP fam.com.
Sorry.
On September 10th, we're going to have a panel at 11:35 a.m., and we're going to have a booth with some merch. Hopefully, we'll see you there in Wayne, New Jersey. Also, we'll be at New York Comic Con, of course, as per usual. New York Comic Con is our main convention, and we'll do a meetup, and it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, we'll see you there.
Yeah.
The derpiest of derps, if you can track it down, some streams of the Ultimate Alliance games would be neat. They're fun in retrospect with a past... The Marvel post-Ultimate pre-Disney.
Those games, I love those games.
You did indeed.
I freaking love those games. I played the most recent one, and I was honestly a little disappointed by it.
It wasn't as good as the last two.
It did not have the same feel. Felt like it was preying on my nostalgia, and that just wasn't enough.
No. Girk Pectus, great thing about jet lag, I finally get to watch you guys live every other time I send super chats while waiting for customers. Now I finish work early. Well, there you go, man.
Yay!
Welcome back.
Yes.
Max M, first live I'm watching from college. I moved in last Wednesday. It's been an adjustment to say the least. Thanks for giving me a taste of home.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations on the big move in. Enjoy your time there.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Like, make mistakes, but not huge ones. And,
make small mistakes that require like learning and correction.
Exactly.
And don't take failure as anything else but an opportunity to learn.
Yeah. But enjoy and learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
Ray Farr, Comic Pop, woo! I went to my gatekeeping LCS, and the worker there was literally the Simpsons comic book guy. Nice haircut, Sal. Yeah, I agree. Tiffany did a nice job, as she always does. She just trimmed it after my incessant nagging, where I was like, this needs to go.
I was like, you're right, it does.
So she went, and she got rid of it. Yeah, man, I don't care for the comic book guy, comic book store owners, and I've known quite a few of them. But yeah, I would just move on. I would just leave that store or find another one.
But not everybody has access to a lot of.
Well, that's true. That's
like,
why
comic
you
book stores.
Yeah, that's why you start going online. You buy
Mm.
from like in stock trades or
Or sometimes if you get an opportunity, like if you like find out what days, maybe sometimes they have other employees.
Yeah, you could
go on a
avoid
day.
that guy.
Yeah.
He also mentions, also, I laugh every time the Absolutely Marvel and DC channel is sponsored by G Fuel. Sal only drinks Coke Zero water. What's that? Coke Zero is so good. Yeah, man, I don't drink much of that, but I do. I have had it, and I can say that G Fuel was not like gross and didn't make me feel like it. I had heart palpitations, so like I have no problem letting them sponsor it.
Yeah.
Potassium to the heart. Hello, caught my attention on Green Lantern. I'll now pick it up in ARC. Still obsessed with last week's back issues. Looking forward to road tripping to ZapCon next month. Keep the lights on. Well, hopefully we'll see you there, man. Well, I mean, we'll see you there because it's one big building.
Just don't forget, it is a tiny con.
It's a very tiny con.
It's like it is a basement style, old school comic convention. It's not really a convention. It's just
it is there to get comic books and to get like amateur art drawn if you want it, and to meet us.
Yeah, that's it. But like you don't have to come from far and wide. It's okay. We won't be insulted.
Dan V900 says, speaking of Tom Taylor, issue 8 of Dark Knights of Steel isn't solicited. 7 came out over 2 months ago. Tales of the Three Kingdoms comes out next month. It didn't seem like a human target situation. No, I'm guessing that Tom Taylor is probably like producing stuff and he's just busy. Like a lot of the premier comic book writers that you see who do like side projects are usually or if they're doing independent projects, they're also typically like knee deep in some kind of streaming production for some adaptation of something they worked on. And like my guess is, look, I don't think Tom Taylor pissed off anybody at DC, and I don't think that there's an issue. I think it's either Tom Taylor's probably negotiating more money from DC because he deserves it because he's like keeping the damn place afloat, or he's working on some kind of like streaming service, like trying to produce some TV show. That would be my guess. But it's not because the book is not selling, and it's certainly not because the book is poorly reviewed. And Memento Mori says, loving the current Moon Knight run, hope to someday see it on back issues. Ultimate Alliance is what introduced me to the character. Nice. Yeah, that's actually a lot of people's, like, that game is an introduction to a lot of people, like, to the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of Moon Knight, what do you think?
Well, first I was going to say, I don't know if you said this earlier or not, but don't forget, if you haven't had an opportunity, you should like and subscribe to this channel.
That's true. Yeah, if you want to help us out and you don't have any scratch to do so, the best way to do it is to like this video right now and subscribe so that you get notifications. Click that bell so that you know when we go live, and then you can join us here on the live show, and then not just watch it after the fact and go like, man, that could have been my name up there. I could have asked a fun question or made a comment, and then they could have commented on it for a few minutes before moving on to the next thing.
That's right. Like Moon Knight number 14, which came out actually like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I promised I would do it.
You did.
So it's written by Jed McKay with art by Alessandro Capuccio. This is a like, how did I phrase it in my mind while I was reading it? This is a very quiet issue that has a lot to say.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
It's there's like 2 settings that are really one setting. There's a fight between those new characters that Jed McKay created and Moon Knight, but that really doesn't matter. That's not the main event.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's happening, but simultaneously while that's occurring, Mark is having a conversation with Steven and Jake.
Yes.
In his head.
Okay.
All have their own location, all have their own like look. Not Moon Knight, they're just themselves.
Yes.
Right. And he's dressed as like Mr. Knight. And really what this conversation is about is like Mark not addressing as of late or as of recently his dissociative identity disorder. And how he, like, for Mark, he's like, it's a problem. I need to stay in control. Because remember, he like Steven came out when he was going to kill Zodiac in front of Reese, and like how like Jake's like, it would have been fine if you'd killed him, but like you can't do it in front of her.
Right.
Like, that's not okay. And Steven's like, we really shouldn't be doing any of this, right? But that it comes out that like, oh, they had made a deal that like really Mark would take control. And so they really, they just get into it in terms of like Mark not addressing what he really is, and like that Reese is really a allegory, or I guess allegory is correct. For him, because like she has this vampirism now, and like she accepts it, and she's not trying to like hide it or control it or whatever. She's like, this is what I am, and I have to deal with it. And that like he needs to do the same thing.
Right.
So I guess we're going to see him addressing that going forward, that the fact that he has this therapist, and like the therapist never asks about the other personalities, just asks Mark about himself. So like they really try to pin it on him. And I'm like, that also just kind of sounds like maybe she's not the best therapist.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, I am not a therapist and I don't have DID, so I can't really speak to that. for sure. But I just feel like a more well-rounded therapist would be, making sure to check in on all things and not just dealing with just the main one. But I don't really know. It was a good issue. I liked it. I honestly wish there was a little more depth to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's there. But like I guess it felt a little too wrapped up quickly for me. And that doesn't mean like they solved it and they're like going to move on and everything will be like totally fine from here on out. I'm sure they're going to have like missteps and such. I just wish there was a little bit more to it. Like, it was a good issue. And I appreciated like the breather. I think that's kind of nice. It's also like setting up not necessarily a new status quo, but like a new mental space for Moon Knight going forward. And we'll see how his relationships weather the storms of this. He has like one of those like sort of like Batman moments, because we've seen him have those occasionally. And like, I don't know if I want to call it that. It's just,
but that's what
Batman is very much a reference point for a lot of
people.
Where he like has that moment where he's like, oh my gosh, no, like I have to do this on my own. And they're like, like you're not, like you're like, that's only 1/3 of you that you need all of you to fight them. Like, that's why you can't win this fight. And of course he comes to the realization that he's like, I need to, like rely on, I guess, my other personalities and the people around me. For help.
Oh, that's
and I'm
nice.
like, yeah, that's very like, we've seen Batman wax and wane in terms of like having the Bat family relying on them, needing to rely on himself, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And it felt a little like that.
I
appreciate very much the acknowledgement of his DID, and I'm glad that came to the forefront. But like I said, I just wish there was a little more meat to it. But I get it. We're also reading a Moon Knight book, and a lot of people do want to see Moon Knight punching people.
Right.
So I totally get like having both of those, simultaneously.
Totally.
Running. It's just, you can't have as much like, as I'm like, ooh, I want like something like chewy to bite upon.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a good book, and this run, I really want to say series, but this run continues to be quite good. So if you're looking for something from Moon Knight, we're 14 issues in. I would definitely start from the beginning. To kind of get an understanding of where Mark is right now in his journey. But you will be rewarded. What?
I'm just thinking of your patience will be rewarded.
Oh.
Memento Mori, loving the current Moon Knight run. He said that already. I'm sorry. Okay. Girk Pectus says, I love giant-sized Gwen Stacy on paper. It should suck, but Christos Gage almost never misses. Great seeing X-Men versus Green Goblin. Yeah, that would be really cool. I'd like to check that out. And Christos Gage is great. Gravicious says, just spreading some good cheer, feeling good, and hope you guys are doing good too. I'm glad I got the Predator DH Dark Horse Omni a while back, because they're not on Comixology anymore. Bleh. Keep being cool. Well, you too, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like, oh, I noticed that like, Dark Horse lost the Alien and Predator license, so I picked up all the DC Dark Horse crossovers because I was like, these are going to be gone. So grabbed those and took care of it, and I was right. Ray Farr, I've been sick with COVID. Sorry to hear that, man. Hopefully it's uneventful, your recovery, and it just moves on and gets out of your system. Been catching up on some games in quarantine. Was wondering if Tiffany played Cyberpunk. Honestly, I love the game on PS5.
That's a good question, because I didn't, because when it came out, I didn't have a PS5, and I heard the PS4 version really wasn't worth playing. And at the time, I didn't have a PC that would run it. So I was like, well, not going to play it. Also, I knew there was like issues with at least the PS4 version of it. So I was like, nah, forget it. But you know what? Maybe we should do that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And Bob Gukian, my graphic novel collection is starting to look like a to-watch list of back issues. She-Hulk is going to be hilarious. Yeah, man. I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that show. We didn't shoot a She-Hulk episode, but we are working towards a GBU starring the Emerald, giant herself. So I'm excited about that. I may or may not be on that, who knows. I read Punisher #5, of course, because I am really enjoying this Jason Aaron series with art by Paul Azceta. This, of course, is the new status quo for Punisher, which is he's a disciple of the Beast. He's been enrolled by the Hand. His family has been, or at least his wife Maria, has been resurrected as a method of recruiting him. There's been an ongoing Godfather-esque dual plot line going on that kind of retcons Frank's humble beginnings. Aaron remembers and knows Punisher Born and is like, yeah, Punisher Born. But there's also an earlier period when Frank became like a murderer and when he got like messed up. Like Frank's never been normal. And so we're seeing a lot of insight into like how Frank met Maria. And, this one introduces a friend of his who is really just a victim that like associated or like projected onto him, and helped him set things up with Maria, got him into hockey. And it's just overall the series is amazing. It's not like amazing, but it is great. Like it's like a solid Punisher book.
Yeah.
And especially in light of like all the controversy that started out and quickly evaporated. Like I haven't heard any complaints or arguments about the series after it launched. Especially the first issue was like, oh, this book looks and is awesome. What the hell? And it's great. So just pick up the last 4 issues. Pick up Punisher number 5. This is a really fun series. In this one, a couple of hand ninjas like screwed up and didn't die, and Frank helped them out. And so like the old woman who's in charge of the hand, she slaughtered their families and turned them into like disciples of the Punisher, because like, oh, they need to be his disciples, and they need to follow his example. So I need to murder all of their families in order to like make them into better weapons. And so they have like his new hand logo on them, and that's like an elite squad, and he's like, you did that? And then he just cuts her like with a sword, and then she turns into this crazy monster, and he thinks he murders it, and he grabs Maria and he just runs into the woods. But once he crosses the threshold, she starts to die. And it's like, duh. But Frank wouldn't think of that.
Yeah.
The idea that like, yeah, no, I didn't just bring your wife back using dark, evil magic so that you could leave.
Yeah, that's not how this works.
No.
Sorry,
and so they're like,
man.
so he comes back, and they use medicines to like bring her back to life, or to re-infuse her with life. It's just a really messy, gross kind of status quo for Punisher, which I really enjoy. But there, the hand is at war with A.X.E and his disciples. And of course, in the previous issue, we established that A.X.E is like, I love Frank Castle. He is my greatest disciple, because he's a never-ending war.
Yeah.
And A.X.E is like, I'm gonna prove like that Frank is my guy. You stupid ninja people. And so what Frank goes to take the battle to A.X.E, the god of war.
Yeah.
And so just, I don't want to spoil it, but I will, because it's just so cool and it's worth buying. But like, there's just this gorgeous last page reveal where Punisher goes to deal with A.X.E, and A.X.E is like, I'm gonna prove that you are my guy. And you see that A.X.E is wearing the old Punisher logo.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
It's just like, oh my god, this is really cool. This is just so unabashedly fun and like joyful, even though it's like a misery fest. But it's not like in that kind of misery fest like a Garth Ennis book. Like this is actually just, it's giving you a compelling story. And so you should read this book. It's great. We have a couple of super chats and I wanted to get into really quick before we move on. Cat Lawyer will defend for treats. I hope I don't seem like a spoilt fan, but any chance of seeing Ram V on Elseworlds? I've been a huge fan of his work since he wrote These Savage Shores and Graffiti Wall. Super happy to see him at DC. I don't know him personally, and I don't like, I like his work, but I'm not like a Ram V fan. I'm not like one of those people who's like, I need to talk to Ram V. I don't know what I would ask him. Like, I need a personal kind of like river that leads to Ram V's shores. Like that would make me need to talk to him. Like Chip Zdarsky and stuff like that. Like I've read their work, and I'm like, I got to talk to this guy right now.
Yeah.
And it's and also they're pretty busy people. But maybe Tiffany will talk to him. I don't know.
I'm not a good interview person.
You are a good interview person. There's a great Daniel Warren Johnson interview that you did.
Sounds a better interview person. I think we all know that. It's a skill. It's a skill, and I think you have a better skill level.
You're very kind. I have no idea what I would say. I'm imagining it, and I know I would fuck it up. But but yeah, that's the only reason. It's just because I don't know him personally, and I don't have like great. I don't have a good like avenue. But it's there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, hey, and one day maybe there will be. Young Goku over 9,000. So Axe is Fuego, super Fuego. Makes you wonder what could happen when a creator brings past concepts together with present ones and works with other writers. Super fun read so far. Yeah, man. What's his name? Kieran Gillen gets Marvel events, gets the universe he's playing in, and the universes that he's working with.
He's a writer.
Not hard to believe.
He's a really good writer.
You want to talk about Axe now, or you want to wait?
I think we should wait.
All right. Yeah. What else you got?
Because like I have something that like I know not a lot of folk are gonna care about. I don't even know if a lot of you read this. Maybe you'll let me know. Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever came out.
Yes, I only read one thing about it.
Like 50 years of
Ghost Rider.
Yeah. What did you read about it?
I read that it sucked.
From who?
Somebody on Reddit.
Oh.
And somebody's just like, what a waste of money.
I mean, it was $5, but you get a go off for it. It's Ben Percy writing it with Juan Jose Rip on art. And first of all, out of the gate, the credits page is like a bit of an homage to.
Oh, that's just the cover.
Yeah,
that's the glow in the dark cover. That's awesome.
But like redone, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I
think that's the same one.
You think it's the same one?
I think immediately my brain was like just filled in.
It has to be. Yep. And you know why?
Because he's got credit.
Yep, because he has a credit. You're right. I didn't even see it down there. But yeah, Tex is there, and he has to be like
he's synonymous with Ghost Rider history.
Mark Texiera is just like, yeah, you've seen his work.
Yeah, you know his work,
and he's just a fun guy. He's just such a fun guy.
Yeah.
So like, is this like my favorite Ghost Rider story? No. Is this like supposed to be like seemingly like this anniversary? Issue, right?
So to celebrate Ghost Rider.
Yeah. Well,
you're like, it doesn't.
You know what it feels like?
No.
It feels like Ben Percy was like, guys, Ghost Rider's like turning 50. Maybe we should do something. And they're like, I don't care, do whatever.
Right. That feels like Marvel to a
like,
T.
What he does here is like, it's like, I don't know. There's something sort of fun about it. Like there's something interesting about the concept that we're doing, but really at the core of it, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go through like a little mini history about like the different Ghost Riders.
Yeah.
We're gonna, do some stuff from the past. We're going to do we're going to touch on Johnny. We're going to touch on Danny. We're going to touch on Robbie. We're going to touch on 2099.
Okay.
We're going to see Cosmic Ghost Rider. We're not going to really talk about him. But we'll physically.
We'll look at him.
Look, there he is. Okay, cool. Anyway, moving on.
Good.
And so like it's less about the actual history lesson and more the thing that I thought was clever was how they put it together.
Okay.
That like Johnny, what do we know about Johnny? Johnny rides motorcycles. Johnny becomes a skeleton man. And that skeleton's on fire. And Johnny's been through a lot, right?
Right.
So Johnny basically is riding down a highway as you do when you're a Ghost Rider. Hey, I'm a Ghost Rider on a motorcycle. Where should I be? Oh, you should be riding down a highway somewhere in America with like very little going on around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's looking for a tattoo artist, right? Because he's like, I don't know if you could imagine this, but since I'm a biker, you would picture me having tattoos, and I don't.
Right, but like I assume they're going to be melted off of him every time he like fires up.
Well, he's going to find this tattoo artist, but it's a very specific tattoo. It's like a magic tattoo artist who's going to like show him what he needs to know. Like the tattoos will tell a story, and that's how it's all couched. It's Johnny getting all these like tattoos, and the tattoos are magical, and it's like telling the history of Ghost Rider and the spirit of vengeance. Oh, also Vengeance is in it too. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Oh, no way!
Vengeance is in it as well, and it goes through like different time periods
in Ghost Rider.
It's like set during Spirits of Vengeance, set during Midnight Suns, set during 2099, set during Marvel Now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, you see that, and so like really what Ben Percy is doing is almost trying to be like, hey, listen, if you like Ghost Rider and any of these speak to you,
right,
go back.
Yeah.
You can find these time periods where these like little mini vignettes are happening, like these couple pages or couple panels, and you can go pick up some Ghost Rider. And so for people who are like, Ghost Rider, does this really progress Ghost Rider's journey?
Probably not. No.
Yeah.
It's just a promo for
it is
Ghost
a bit
Rider.
Of a promo, but it does also like go like, hey, here's some of the history of Ghost Rider.
Okay.
Right. It doesn't necessarily highlight too much about them and their origins. It just kind of gives you a sample of them. I will say Danny Ketch was very, very competent in this, which made me feel pretty betrayed.
Yeah, because that's not what he is.
No, he's gotten better over time. He has gotten better over time. But but you get like a little like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is, like, oh, this is the look of this Ghost Rider. And it also kind of helps with that too.
Yeah, like, to establish like which Ghost Rider you're freaking looking at. Because they're leather bound skulls on fire who ride motorcycles. How do you keep them straight?
I do wish it was a little more celebratory of the character. But I understand that I don't know this for sure, but I'm gonna guess based on the fact that I didn't see a whole lot of promo for this, that there wasn't a whole lot of like power behind it. You know what I mean? It was just something that was done because they wanted to do it. But like it is only $5, and I think it's 40 pages.
Okay.
Or maybe it's 30 pages. Oh, yeah, I have it right here. It's 32 pages.
Oh.
It's 32 pages, but it's all like that's 32 pages of just book.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure if you pick it up, there's gonna be ads in it, but I got it on Comixology, so there weren't any ads.
Fair.
But it was $5. So
not bad.
You get quite a bit of it. And like I said, the tattoo thing's kind of fun.
Okay.
Like it's kind of fun. It's kind of neat. they do some stuff in the past that there's only one thing I really question. By the way, what was it? 1 million BC, 10 million BC, whatever.
Oh yeah, 1 million BC.
Not in it.
Oh, the mammoth riding one.
Yeah.
Good.
Instead, there's like a bear or a saber-toothed cat.
Like a person who rides a bear.
That's what you would have thought, but when I really thought more about it, like it's just a bear.
Oh.
Of some kind.
Okay.
Because like when the machine and or animal you're riding is mounted by a spirit of vengeance, the entire thing becomes the vehicle of the Ghost Rider. So if you're an animal, you become a full skeleton. This thing is not a full skeleton, so I must assume that Mephisto has made a deal
with a bear.
Or whatever, like,
creature this is.
Yeah, from this time period.
Right.
Which like delights me.
Yeah.
In my own way, it's silly and dumb, but like I love the idea of Mephisto going.
Yeah, like, okay, you're the most evil bear I've ever encountered.
We get Mephisto in this. He doesn't really show up, but like we do get him in here. We don't talk about Johnny being the king of hell necessarily. Like we don't cover every iota of the Ghost Rider mythos. This is very much feels to me like a, hey, have you been interested about Ghost Rider? Check this out. Maybe something here will draw you in. And like I said, you'll go and find those books. Like maybe you're like, hey, this Danny Ketch guy seems interesting. I want to go check him out. Or like this Robbie guy, like I like the fact that he has a car. I'm going to go read his. Like, oh, it's during Marvel now. I know where to start. Or I know where to look.
Vengeance has tusks. I want his stuff. What's that all about?
Yeah. And he rides with Blade and Morbius.
Oh.
In this.
Okay.
Admittedly, this little vignette they tell with like Dracula with a train, like a blood train, where it's like got all these people in it. Oh, I'm like, yeah. It very much gives you a temperature on a lot of these guys.
Okay.
But the fact that like, what have we always said about Ghost Rider? That he's a cool image.
He's a cool tattoo.
He's a cool. That's what I'm saying. And so what? Like, I don't know. There was a little of poetry here.
Yeah, the Ghost Rider's getting his own tattoo, and it's like it'd be great if the tattoo he gets, he's like, oh, it's hard to tell, and then he gets like a skull that's on fire. Well, like, that's cool.
That's cool. No, he gets like on his face they put like a little like they do like one of those face tattoos on the side on the half where it's like part of it's a skull, and like you see certain Ghost Riders on his chest and on the back like. There is like Mephisto and Lilith and chains, and like the tattoo artist is talking about how like he and like Danny are brothers, and that like like the chains that bind them, and I'm like, it's very Ghost Rider-y in its own little way, but it definitely lacks some of that like hardcore stuff that some people might be looking for. So I can understand why some folk were thinking like this is going to be a celebration of like one of the Ghost Riders, as opposed to just being a little sampler.
Yeah.
So check it out if you want. I read it. It was fun. I guess.
Cool. Well, good for Ghost Rider getting someone giving a crap about him enough to do something with him.
That's what it felt like.
Joshua Link says 3 of my favorite ongoing series right now are Punisher, Ghost Rider, and Venom. What decade is this? Yeah, well, the people from that decade are now in their 40s and making comic books. So yeah, is there an ongoing Ghost Rider series?
Yes, there is, and it's quite good.
Oh, good.
But this doesn't like.
This is not connected.
I mean, I think it might be but like not. You don't have to have read that to appreciate this book, and this book felt more like. Not necessarily an annual, but like annuals often try to bring people in.
Yeah, they're not. They're promotions for the book.
It has that vibe to it where it's just like, hey, folk, check this out. This should be a big deal. It's 50 years. Ghost Rider's been around. Like, the ongoing book's quite good.
Good.
So,
all right, cool. Valiant Shadow Productions, Justice for Danny. Still mad about what they did to him in the last great Ghost Rider run. I really wish they would just let him be the focus again.
I love Danny in my own way, and I totally get where you're coming from. But I do agree that like I'm not 100% on board for what they did to him in that book.
Yeah,
like. It's just very strange. Very strange. And I am wondering if they're ever going to address it or if they're just going to do that thing where they conveniently forget it, ignore it, and just move on.
That's what they do.
If they put Danny back into something.
To Ghost Riders, that's what they do. There was a period in the 90s. There were Vengeance. Johnny was not a Ghost Rider, but he had a thick mane of hair that he kept in a ponytail.
Was just Blaze.
Yeah, Blaze and Danny. And like, so it's like, there's a precedent to have a bunch of Ghost Riders,
right? But he wasn't really. But he had the shotgun that had the Hellfire.
Yes, the Hellfire shotgun. Yeah. Like, that'd be the way to go. I think that's the way to bring it back.
to bring Danny back.
Yeah, it's just to make Johnny Blaze and just move on.
Oh, you're gonna demote Johnny?
Yeah, are you kidding me? Johnny had his son,
like
his moment in the sun. Everyone always talks about he's their favorite, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, no,
because he's got a Spawn origin. Like, and when I say
right.
Spawn, I mean like Spawn has his origin, but you know what I mean.
You know
like,
what it
it's
is?
just
I think it's because Johnny for a while had a less convoluted.
that's exactly what it is.
origin
No,
story,
that's
but,
why
like,
it's just easier
Danny
to sell.
had the better look,
So
but
that's
Johnny
why
had the better bite.
Well, that's why they stole Danny's look.
It's just an amalgam. But like over time, obviously they've added
So
much
much.
to both of their origins.
Mhm.
Like I feel like they do kind of need to clean it up.
They do
a
need to
little
clean it
bit.
up. Yeah. Aaliyah Adkins, seen Paper Girls, liked it. Time to get the graphic novel.
Dude, yes, absolutely. Please, like, go grab that. Because I think you're gonna appreciate the vibe and the spirit of the show in the graphic novel, but you're gonna get like some differences here and there. So you're not gonna get exactly the same content, which is nice, but you're gonna still feel like that connection 100%.
Metalcore 452. So the One Piece manga outsold Batman entirely. Have you guys ever thought about giving it a shot? I believe it's the greatest comic of all time.
So obviously, listen, there's a really big difference between the
manga and Western
the manga,
comics.
yeah, the manga market and the Western comic market.
Yeah.
So it's like it's really not a huge thing to say, like, oh my gosh, manga outsold a Western comic. It's just it's a medium that is celebrated in the East as well as in the West.
Yep.
It's just there's a large audience for it. But in terms of us covering it or talking about it, we've gotten pretty gun shy about that, considering how other channels that have come out to talk about manga have
Absolutely.
gotten some copyright strikes and some takedowns for that. So it's one of those things that we're just not necessarily willing to risk on, like, shutting something down just to do it.
Japanese culture encourages manga consumption. Western culture
Yes.
has embraced manga as well. Western comics could use the hand. Manga doesn't need our help.
Oh, it's absolutely
And
true.
manga doesn't want it because they'll copyright strike any video that shows more than one panel of their work, and I'm happy to oblige them.
No, that said, we have talked a little, like we've done like GBUs, and I've done a little bit for
Junji
Junji
Ito, Sailor Moon.
Not that Junji Ito or Sailor Moon necessarily need the help, but like with Ito, I'm always
They
happy
mean something to you,
they
and
mean
that's
something
why.
to me. I do have quite a connection to them, and I do love horror stuff, and I always want to share the love, because like Ito, for a lot of people, they know the name, but maybe they haven't read too much of the work, and like they only think of his Uzumaki,
right?
And there's so much more to him. Not that that's not one of his greatest stories, but there's so many other tales out there, and I love to spread that, where it's just like, hey, if you like that, like, you should go check out his other stuff, or if you don't like that, you look for a different type of horror, trust me, he probably has it.
Right, exactly. The derpiest of derps. Anytime Ghost Riders as different time periods are mentioned, I always think about how there had never been a Ghost Rider that drives a train. Well, if you like that, you should check out the Vindicators episode of Rick and Morty with Ghost Train.
Right, but I do feel like that would be difficult.
Yes,
because you need
you need more than one guy.
Well, you need to be able to get places.
Yeah, he's on a track.
Yeah.
If it was on a train.
I mean, unless once he took the helm of the train, tracks like were built underneath it,
made of bones.
Yeah, and like in their wake, they just left like
fire trails.
Yeah.
BK Saguga says, "Do you guys sell merch?" Sometimes, yeah, especially at the con. Like at ZapCon, we're going to be selling merch, so you can come there. We don't have an online store, but we do have
it's one of those things
merchandise.
we thought about, but like we're trying to figure out like the cost, like sink fallacy or whatever it is for us to like to do that, to open it up, and like we want to sell if we were to do that, we want a good product, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just a lot.
I think we need to do that, but it's just something we haven't had a chance to do. But we do have we have stickers and posters, and we used to sell shirts, but the company sucked, so we're moving on to other things. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I read Love Everlasting about a year ago, but now it's out in comic form, so you can check that out at your local comic book store, thanks to Image Comics. It is, of course, written by Tom King with art by Elsa Chartier. I don't know how to say her name outside of it being in French. Chartier. This is,
I don't know,
Tom King's love letter to the earliest kind of Marvel comics, which were romance comics. Like, I love Tommy, but Billy's here. What do I do? It's that kind of thing, and it's written very much in that style. And then around like the 2/3 to like the last 2 pages mark, the book takes a turn. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Is you should read the first issue and see if it's right for you. This was one of those things where I'm like, a Tom King book I can finally skip. fantastic. And I read it because it was free, and I did, and I was like, oh, that's really good. And Elsa's work is really good.
Mm-hmm.
It is very Darwin Cook inspired, or at the very least,
Oh.
it reminds me very
Yeah.
much of that. Or
It gives me like I think it's just the cover. I don't know. For some reason, it reminds me of Tintin.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It does feel like a European. Well, it feels like a European comic,
which is fair.
And there's even a reference to a character named Sal at the end. I don't remember if it's at the end of this issue or the next issue, but I like to think that he did that on purpose. He didn't remember doing it, but when I mentioned it, he was like, "Oh yeah, that's you," and I'm like, "You're a liar." Yeah, you should check it out anyway,
well,
regardless
no
of Sal
matter what,
being there.
more than likely, it wasn't you, but
Right,
he had your name in the back of his head because he's talked to you a couple of times.
That's true.
So, like, it could have just been like
he's not a character, unfortunately. He's only like a throwaway thing, but
right.
it's still...
But like, still, like, it was just one of those things where, again, it probably wasn't just like he was like, "I'm going to do this for Sal."
No,
but he's like, "I need a name." Sal. There
yeah,
we go.
That's a name. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just I need a name that's never gonna come up again.
Mm-hmm.
That one. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, but like honestly, the book is it was such a interesting turn. I was like, all right, I got to know where this goes.
Okay.
And it's not gonna be an ongoing. So
right. That's fair.
Girk Pectus, do you think Namor in Wakanda Forever will murder thousands of innocent people like in the comics? In my opinion, he won't feel like a threat otherwise. No, I don't think he's going to do that. But that's because they want to sell his action figure and probably make a movie out of him. So I would expect that to happen. What do you want to talk about next? A.X.E. Judgment Day, number 2.
Next. So
Kieran
cute.
Gillen, Valerio Schiti. This is the second issue of another Marvel Comics event you're probably not reading. It includes
I get it.
And yeah, right. Like the same as Dark Crisis.
I get it.
Both books are asking a lot, and
Yep.
they're both steeped in continuity, and
Yep.
they're dealing with multiple different universes and worlds of books.
Yep.
And yeah.
So it's like that's why, like, you know what, like I want to make sure that, like, you know, I keep reading Dark Crisis because I'm like, I'm not a big fan of it. I feel like I have event fatigue, and yet I'm willing to read this. So I'm like,
Yep.
you know what, like. I totally get if people aren't reading this right now. If you're just like, I'm so tired of events, I completely get it.
Yeah.
This one I am absolutely loving, like, to its core.
Right.
And I think it's just because, like, how much it feels like there's a captain at the helm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that,
no,
like,
there's a direction. There's there's a purpose to this book. I should say really quick before, because I want you to take point on this.
No, I think we can ping pong this one.
But if you are planning on skipping this series, but picking it up in trade, contact your local comic book store and tell them you'd like to pre-order A.X.E. Judgment Day as either a trade or a hardcover. Like, pre-order your trade through your local comic book store if you are inclined to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And that will still send a message to the publisher that you want more of this.
Yeah.
Because, like, I hear it so much. People being like, "Oh, I skipped that event and I loved it afterwards." And I'm like, if you had told them that you were at least going to buy the trade, that would have helped Gillen get more work.
Right. And that's really what it is. It's like, I don't want to be like, Marvel, do more events. What I want is like strong storytelling like this, because that's really at the core is what I think is attracting me to this. Again, I feel so badly because I'm trying not to say that, like, Josh Williamson isn't a strong storyteller, because
he's a great storyteller.
But like, it just feels like with this, like, it is like taking a whole bunch of things that are currently going on in Marvel, right, and then like pulling them together with the support of the people who are working on those other things.
Yeah.
You know, like, Gillen had been writing the Eternals, right? Gillen had been brought in to write X-Men. Now, he wasn't really dealing with Avengers, but he must be working with Aaron a little bit there to you know,
at least have some kind of synergy together.
Have some sort of synergy going on. We've seen him with some of the X writers, like, working together. He's like, "Hey, I need to do this. Do you want to have your book pull into this?" And,
exactly.
And we've seen them run with it and play with it.
Yeah.
It just honestly feels so cohesive. And it's so funny because I know for a lot of people, you immediately see like the A.X.E, right? Like, you know, it's Avengers, you know, X-Men, Eternals, like, they're all fighting. And it's like, yes, there is that element here, but more, there is an element of like camaraderie and like brothership of like, listen, we do have a threat, right? But it's like, and it is a specific, it's the Eternals, right? But it's not like the Eternals, you know, by name. Like, if you could name an Eternal, you probably could name Cersei and Icarus. Those are probably the ones you got, right? So it's like, they're not the bad guys. They're trying to figure out how to stop the bad guys, who is a tip, like,
we're Eternals.
But like, Druig has been on that side of the fence before, right? And like, so that totally makes sense. we have a narrator, and I got to tell you, Kieran Gillen loves to use the omniscient narrator.
Yes.
Typically in the past, it's been the World Machine. In Eternals, in this, it is the god they're creating.
I thought it was going to be the World Machine.
Right?
But no, it's the god they build.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, like, it's great and it's helpful. And I like that narrative device quite a bit. But we hear through that honestly, like, that Destiny and the narrator believe that, like, at the end of the day, the X-Men will stand alone to face this.
Yes.
So even regardless of the, like, cooperation.
Yep, with the Avengers and so forth.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like, this issue was excellent.
Yep.
The last issue, like, we set things up, we really do get right into the action. This one, we are in the middle of the action still. It does pick up from some of the other books that came out, but I was like, you don't have to read those. I read those to just follow along with this. If you're just reading the main title so far, not a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Do you miss a little bit of, like, why Exodus is so, like, like, fired
so gung-ho?
up? Yeah. But, like, he's also Exodus, so you're kind of like,
yeah, I get it. That's Exodus. When was the last time I even knew who that was?
Yeah, I also listen, it's Kieran Gillen. We're dealing with God. So, like, let's put Exodus at the forefront of this.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that Kurt's involved.
Yeah. Of course. We're dealing with gods and fundies and why not?
Religion. And, like, I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, Druig has released Uranus up onto Araco Mars in the last issue. So we dealt with that.
Yep.
But we still had to deal with the Hex Eternals. These huge, like, Godzilla sized, like, Eternals, right? That, like, seemingly have no thought. They seem like machines.
They just destroy,
and they are just there to, like, lay waste to Krakoa. Every mutant that can is going at it.
Yep.
And I love the moment the Avengers show up. It is so earned.
Yeah.
It feels so heroic.
Yep.
And like,
and supportive. Cap's like, how can we help?
Yeah. Because that's Cap.
And the rest of the X-Men are like, boo, you suck.
No, they're all pretty good, except for the only one who says
Exodus.
is Exodus. Who's just like, we don't need the Protector.
We don't need them.
Get out of here.
Yeah, Magic's like, if they're offering to help us, take it.
Yeah.
But no, then Cap gives Cyclops a hard time, which is, of course, classic.
He gives him a little hard time. Cyclops
after everything we've been through.
You're still lying.
How could you lie to us? And he's like, after everything we've been through, how could we not?
Yeah, and Cap's like, okay.
Shut the fuck up, Scott.
Yes and no. I kind of felt like they both were like,
last time I saw you, you were a Phoenix and you murdered Professor X. So what do you want from me?
I think that they both had a moment of, like, fair.
Okay.
Right.
We're at square one again.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's put on our big boy pants and
where the hell is Xavier? Right?
I think he's in
the panic room.
No, he was in the in the circle. Like,
okay.
They were there.
Oh, I didn't see him.
No, we don't see them. That was in a tie-in.
Right.
Or not tie-in. It was in one of the other books. He's there because that's where they got psychically attacked. Remember?
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
So I'm gonna guess though that they have taken certain members away.
Yes. Okay. So they, they're laying waste to Krakoa, and the teams team up, and they fight these guys, and they put them, like they force them back, or at least one of them back, and they take one down, and then it becomes like a problem where, like, because of the destruction of one of these eternal thingies,
the Hex Eternals.
The Hex Eternals.
Yeah.
Like, it's causing flooding and.
Well, because it was huge. They fought it, and, like, I love that, like, Namor's involved. Of course, this is like Namor. Hey, look, Namor's on Krakoa. But, like, Namor's a part of it, and Namor's being Namor, and like they take it down, but it does, like, they take it down in the ocean.
Yeah.
And so it causes quite a bit of seismic
So
activity.
they send the Avengers to, like, protect those who were going to be affected by the devastation.
Honestly, the Avengers were jumping in, but, like, Cyclops was like, how you can help the most, Cap,
is to make it so we don't have to deal with that.
Well, also, like, to, like, help. He helps to, like, get the mutants who can't fight to safety.
Yes.
And, like, Cap's like, I can do that.
Right.
For sure.
No problem. So they do. Yeah. And then they go away.
Yeah. Well, they had to. And, like, Exodus is like, do you see?
Look at how they run away.
I love Curdy's like, dude.
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Dude,
but then Destiny chimes in and she's like, that's us to a T, isn't it? We're always alone. And we will always be alone.
I think what she's saying there is, like, they're not gonna come back.
Right, they're not coming back.
Like,
to this.
This is an us problem right now.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
Like, how do they solve the problem? By the way, of fighting with the hexes, like, Exodus dives into them essentially after they weaken it, and he explodes himself with, like, psychic energy, and he's brought back. And I love that because, again, this is Gillen's writing style and his skill, where it's like you have the duality of, like, Krakoa, who can come back and have this resurrection state, and you have, of course, the Eternals, who have always been able to do that. But in the Eternal series, it was revealed that when an Eternal is resurrected,
a person dies.
A random person dies.
Which, of course, was fun because you open the book introducing 6 different random human beings. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of them does go down, and I'm like,
I thought they were all gonna go down.
I thought so.
I think
for
they
the,
all.
for the
I think they're
hex.
all going to eventually.
Yeah, I think you're right. What I did love though was like using those individuals to like give different like
perspectives on humanity.
Yeah, and like mental states because like of what will happen at the end of this, which of course is they do in fact create a god.
Yeah.
Tony's involved with that.
Yep. Well, because they resurrect the eternal or the celestial that they've been living in. Irisham.
I'm like,
which I think is the same one from the movie.
Yes.
But yeah, no, they're going to resurrect that thing and get it out of here.
But they're going to change it a little bit.
Well, they want to change it to like stack the deck in their favor.
Yeah, they're like trying to change it so that it has like a bit more of a like
humanity,
a human soul.
Yeah, so that it feels bad for us when it makes its judgment.
Yeah,
because they're like, well, what we need is the Eternals. They listen to Celestials, so if we resurrect a Celestial and then influence it to be predisposed to like us, then it'll tell them to go away and they'll knock it off because like it's like God giving you a commandment. So they do, and it does, and then it's like, but then a whole new ball of wax is conjured as a result.
Exactly. What I love about that sequence though is that you have Ajax and Makari who are gonna like try to bring this god back in the first issue, and like Tony shows up.
He's like, hey,
and like you said, like I agree. I really like Kieran Gillen's Tony.
Yeah,
like, he's a Tony that's like has all of the quirks that you like from the movies. Like, he's very full of himself. Like he loves the ladies.
Yeah.
But he's also like, you're bringing a god back, which like goes against everything I know about science. But like, if you're going to do that, I'm going to be involved with it.
Yeah.
Because of just that ego, that level of ego being like, if we're going to do this, I have to be the one who did that.
Totally.
Because I have to like in this one, he was like, Reed's gonna be so
pissed when he sees that I resurrected a god and he wasn't involved.
Yeah, we keep Sinister there, which I love because I realize that like, why does Gillen bother to have Sinister there? It's to take him off the table so that he can't just because like, why doesn't he just use Moira?
Yeah,
to like reset it
exactly.
And it's like because he can't.
Yeah,
I'm like, again, that's Gillen thinking. He's like, we're playing checkers, he's playing chess with this book.
That's right.
Tony's going to be the nervous system for the god.
Yep.
So I'm like, I wonder if that's going to come into play at
all.
It
should, because he's got a damaged heart.
If nothing else, it is so like Tony be like, of course, yeah,
right.
No, I should, and like they make a reasoning for it. He was the one that piloted the Celestial, so like he still has a connection there. Yes. So they're going to do that. We bring in some like past lore with the Celestials being here on Earth as like we go through collecting.
They reference all these different like actual in canon Marvel stories about Celestials that like to factor into Marvel's history, which is good. It's very Ewing of him.
Exactly. And then they bring it to life, and like doesn't go quite the way they're hoping.
No, it tells those things to go away, but then it's like, okay,
you guys suck.
But it's different. It's not just like I've decided you're doing this. It's like you'll all. It reminded me kind of the Justice League run where it was like choose hope or doom.
Yeah.
Choose justice or doom. And then and then it's.
But we're not choosing anything.
No, we are. We're choosing whether we deserve it or not.
No,
humanity decides.
He's judging based on my read on it was that like he's going to judge every one of us because like at the beginning, like
every human.
The Celestial says like every person matters.
Yes,
like you got to be cool to each other. Everyone matters, and like at the end, it's like see everyone matters because I'm going to judge every single person, and if like there are more of you that are jerks,
right,
then you're over. This whole thing's over.
Yeah, I thought it was like you're basically making the decision. Like, do you think you deserve salvation?
No, you're making the decision only by if you're a jerk.
You're a monster or not. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Either way, I'd like it.
I'm like, okay, that's neat. And like, so obviously that's where some of these tie-ins are going to come in, which is like makes perfect tie-in fodder.
Oh yeah, totally.
You can read it or you can not. It's just if you want to.
Yep. Yeah, that was the big splash. I'm assuming that all these different characters will be like highlighted in those stories, and that'll be fun. So that's cool.
So like, I'm really digging on this quite a bit. I also love like the fact that like it's, we're dealing with gods and like, there's always like the hubris of man, like, and so like, we're definitely seeing that, but it's across the board. It's man, it's mutant. It's
no, it's every sentient being.
And the fact that like Sinister was a part of it, Tony was a part of it, and all three of them, like all three sides brought this god to life.
Exactly. So now it's a representation of every except for the Inhumans, I don't think.
They're not even here.
Yeah, they're dead, right? Donny Cates killed them. But yeah, so I recommend it. I think check out Judgment Day, and it's only issue 2, so check out issue 1. And of course, if you want to know what the hell's going on with the Eternals, you should run back and pick up the Gillen run on Eternals, which includes not just the Eternal series, but also a little series that had like a subheading. I think it was like
there's
Eternal
a couple of them, and like one of them he didn't Right.
Yeah.
But there is one that he wrote that like is about Thanos talking to Uranus, and I can't recommend that one enough. It's just so excellent.
It'll also help you understand who the hell Uranus is, because of course he's going to be the big bad that will fight at the end of the book, because like there's no way it's not going to be.
Pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
Right, Uranus is going to kill this god. He's going to kill everybody. It's going to be awesome.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to like what happens with that character.
Yeah.
It like he feels like a bit of like a smoking gun.
Yeah. No, he's a
Chekhov's gun. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's both actually. But yeah, so check out Judgment Day if you haven't already.
Yeah.
And go back.
Let's go back.
Let's go back. A couple other things I wanted to mention.
Sure.
Ray Farr says, I'm ashamed to admit it, but that train idea is so cool.
Well, thank you. Wait, did we read the one about that?
Yeah, we did. About Namor? Yeah, we did that already.
Oh, sorry.
Brady White, hey friends, just started reading The Doll's House on Sandman. The book, and it is amazing.
Yes.
I also watched Predator for the first time. It was fantastic.
Hooray!
I'm glad you enjoyed both those things.
Listen,
You're a man of culture.
Neil Gaiman will go to say like, yeah, everybody loves The Doll's House, but his favorite is I think Dream Country.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not Dream Country. It's Season of Mist. No, A Game of You.
There you go.
He loves A Game of You. Sorry, I was like, wait, several volumes later.
Yeah.
I think Doll's House is one of the best, personally.
Yeah, I know.
It's just so tight. It's like a fantastic dark book.
Yeah, you seem really interested in The Doll's House. Maybe you should do a back issues on it sometime.
Oh, maybe I should.
Oh.
It's like if you liked I don't, it's not necessarily the same, but like if you liked the general vibe of the diner like issue,
it's like a whole issue
or
a whole volume.
You're gonna love The Doll's House.
But yeah, and if you like Predator, you should watch Predator, Predator 2, Predators, and Prey, and then you're good.
And you're okay.
You're good. Cat Lawyer Will Defend for Treats was lukewarm on Netflix Sandman, but 3 of my friends picked up Volume 1. My older sister loved it too. She picked up the Sandman novel, and she loved Death. Yeah, Death is a beloved character.
But if she loves it and she doesn't have it, which you could, if you need a gift for her, you should grab Death: The High Cost of Living.
Exactly. Mike Manhattan, any thoughts on Monstrous from Marjorie Liu?
Yeah, it's a beautiful series.
I know you love it. You've met both creators. You have her cat bag.
Yes, I do have her cat bag.
Girk Pectus, I liked Sandman, but it felt a little less impactful without the DC history. No Justice League or Arkham or Dr. Destiny, no Swamp Thing or the Crow's backstory.
Yeah,
in the show.
Yeah, no, in the show. No, I totally get where you're coming from there. For people who know that it does, like some of people really just embrace it as like what it is and it's new.
Sandman is so separate anyway. It's like
it is and it isn't. Like I do miss that.
Yeah,
quite a bit. Like there are definitely some things in there where like I'm just like it does. There's like some hollowness, but like there's still other meaning.
Yeah,
for sure. But like I completely understand that.
Yeah. Joe Fayant says, met Ed Brisson at my local comic store 3 weeks ago, got some comic sign, nice guy, enjoyed Predator 1 and his new series. There's something wrong with Patrick Todd. Good to know, man. I've heard good things about Ed Brisson as far as him being like a nice guy, and I've liked his work before. Ron Caterasano, you guys convinced me to buy Volume 1 of the Sandman Omnibus before watching the show. Same with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Keep it up.
Yay! Excellent.
Yeah. And if you haven't already, you should check out Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow and Daniel Warren Johnson's Beta Ray Bill. Dex Baker, thanks so much for the super sticker. That's awesome. We'll see that in just a second. Tony, pull that up. But in the meantime, Frank says, really love the first issue and tie-ins to A.X.E. Was excited about X-Men retaliating, but not too thrilled about the shift to fighting a giant celestial. Hope it stays focused on X-Men versus Eternals.
I don't know how much they're going to shift.
I think it's going to be that.
To that necessarily.
Yeah, let's work out. Come on, pair.
No, it's a mic drop.
Oh, I thought he was lifting things because he got that headband. Nice. Thank you. Yeah. So I read DCeased, War of the Undead Gods, #1 from Tom Taylor and Trevor Hairsine. This is despite the okay, so this looks like a kind of tie-in. It looks like that the other DCeased books, like World Without End or At World's End, and the other one about the side characters and Deathstroke and stuff. And it's not. This is DCeased 4. This is the continuation of DCeased. Like the third one ended DCeased. This is the next DCeased.
Wow, this quietly just was like, hey, we're here.
Yeah, I don't understand what the hell their problem is. This is literally the next friggin' thing in DCeased. This is, I believe, the end of DCeased, by the way. 8-issue miniseries that's going to wrap up the DCeased universe. In it, we have the new Justice League post the fallout of the third volume, which I don't want to spoil if you haven't already read DCeased 3. It's really important that you know how it ends to set this up. But the Justice League has 2 planets that they have to protect, one of which is, of course, under threat of Superman, who is a anti-life monster draining the sun's energies. They have to deal with that. They have to figure out what to do. There's issues with New Genesis. There's a new origin for Supergirl in this reality. And it's nuts. So you should definitely check it out. Especially if you like DCeased. If you love DCeased, you're gonna love this because it's just more of the same, and it's not like a tie-in. This is literally a sequel to DCeased. So if you want DCeased 4, this is it. That's the next one.
Wow.
And it's the last one. And I think it's going to be like DCeased versus the New Gods. I think it's just a big old New Gods war against the DC universe. So if it's DCeased, I thought it was DCeased 3. I thought there had already been a third one, but apparently there were 2. My bad. Either way, fuck it. Who cares?
You want, maybe you're from the future.
Yeah,
and there's secretly a 4th one. You're just trying to cover it up.
Yeah, but it's good and it's cool. So check that out as well. Amazing Spider-Man #7 came out from Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. I talked a little bit about this on our crappy TikTok. If you haven't already followed me, it's ComicPapa with 2 P's. Not that it matters because TikTok's a terrible company, and so whatever. But so this is, continuing the Zeb Wells run. I will tell you this about John Romita Jr., because everybody, upset about like how Romita Jr.'s on the book. I'm sure Marvel was like triumphantly like, John Romita Jr.'s back. He's doing good work. He's doing good work. It looks like a Spider-Man book. It reminds me of John Romita on Spider-Man.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think that his style is very divisive.
It is very divisive.
I mean?
No, so absolutely. And it always has been.
Yeah, but it's pretty much the status quo if people are like complaining about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people were less vocal back in the day. But like,
there was less opportunity.
That's very true. The last time that we saw Romita on Spider-Man was probably like New Ways to Die or whatever. Like it's been like 10 years since he's regularly drawn Spider-Man. And so, he's getting older. He's of course an artist, so he's redefining his style. And so it's like, look, it's going to look like John Romita. It's going to look like his book.
Yeah.
And I think Romita knows these characters enough to be able to portray them in a way that is consistent with the style that you're familiar with, and if you don't like it, then you're not going to like it. If you never liked it, you're not going to like it now.
Yeah.
But it's been 20 years since the Straczynski run. And it's like, it's going to be a little sloppier. It's not nearly as sloppy or as divisive as the Superman run. That book looked bad. Like I will just say, I didn't like the look. This book looks like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's your decision if you like that or not. But yeah, in this issue, we're getting more into the like nitty gritty of Spider-Man's life. We're moving on from the Tombstone stuff and getting into the Norman Osborn stuff. Spider-Man is encouraged to go to basically like an informal job interview with Osborn. Osborn, of course, was shot by a spiritual shotgun from a resurrected sin eater who took away his sins. So now he's a good guy.
Yes.
And that's not stupid or complicated. But so he's there. Mary Jane is also there. Norman Osborn encouraged her to come there. And he had hoped that maybe there would be like some kind of sparks. But if she brought her boyfriend, who's also the father of her children or whatever, which hasn't come up yet, why, who, how, doesn't matter. But we are getting... we got a name for the boyfriend. So it's Peter, Paul, and Mary Jane. Ha ha ha. Like the band Peter, Paul, and Mary, or the biblical references. So Paul is the boyfriend who doesn't like Peter. They shake hands, and it alludes to a like complicated and poorly executed flashback sequence that looks like what my brain thought it was one of those like fake outs where you see what the character wants to do. It's a scene where Peter and Paul shake hands, and then the next panel, Paul is punching Peter in the exact same configuration that he, Mary Jane, and Peter are in. And I'm like, oh, okay. So Paul's like pissed at Peter and he wants to punch him. But then you realize, like, after you read it again, that they're wearing different clothing. And so it's a flashback to when Paul punched Peter, but it's in the exact same configuration as the previous panel. Oh. So you're like, oh, that's not very well executed. Damn. But like, there's no editors at either of the big two, so it doesn't really matter, and no one would have ever caught it. And I think part of the reason why, like, you'll see like classic, or older writers and artists on books lately is because I think that's their way of being like, you don't need to be edited nearly as hard. You can just go do it, and we'll just trust you to do it. But Spider-Man's pissed at Norman because he like set up this little like awkward moment, but Norman like genuinely thought it would be a sweet moment between the two of them. He's trying to encourage him to wear the Goblin version of Peter's costume that Norman made for him that has been in variant covers and promotional materials. People are seeing this like Spider-Man like rides a Goblin glider and he's got like complicated bullshit all over him. It's alluded to on the cover of this very issue in which like Spider-Man's mask is a helmet. It's got green glowing eyes and stuff. Like he's going to wear this costume. But Peter's like, wait a minute. Why am I being buddy-buddy with you anyway? Like, you know what you did. Get away from me. And you know, you're not absolved of your crimes. Peter gives Norman a hard time, but because Peter has been written as an asshole since issue 1, it's really hard to like get excited about the sequence where it's like, you murdered my girlfriend in front of me and you think that like I would work for you.
Right.
But that's not what is said. What is said is that like Peter is short with people. You're supposed, I think, to like be annoyed at Peter or disappointed in him for like not being charitable.
Oh.
You know, but it's hard because that's what this book is. It's like it's kind of like weirdly, you know, it's weirdly, you know, unbalanced. But yeah, the book is well written and it's got art that you either like or don't, and there's no in between.
Right.
But you know what really it illustrated for me, and you know this is my Dark Crisis like you know argument, but like
yeah,
where Amazing Spider-Man will never be good again. And I don't mean like they're never going to bring back the marriage and so I'm sad. No, Amazing Spider-Man will never be like a critically acclaimed book because Marvel is too focused on making it work. Like people talk about like Daredevil runs and how great they are and how like celebrated they are. Like, and they're divisive in their own right. It's like Ann Nesenti wrote like this crazy run on Daredevil, and it's like, and Romita drew it, and it's like if you love it, you love it, and if you don't, you hate it. You know, the Zdarsky's Shadow run, like it's good. It's some good shit. The Miller Mazzucchelli run is one of the best comics of all time.
Yeah,
you're never gonna get a great run like that on Spider-Man because Spider-Man is supposed to be the Batman in publishing terms for Marvel.
Right.
Spider-Man should be the book that keeps Marvel afloat. Spider-Man should be the #1 selling Marvel book every month.
Right.
But it isn't.
Right.
And it can't be because no one is allowed to be creative enough to take it in another direction. The last time we did, you know, like I think it gave Marvel cold feet. Marvel yanked the rug out from under Spencer. Dan Slott, his run ended in a kind of like bombastic way, but I feel like they were encouraging him to stop.
Right.
Because it was 10 years of Dan Slott writing Spider-Man. And every time that he would take Spider-Man into a new status quo, he would always reset it.
Yeah.
You know, so the readers were always like, why would I get invested? You're just going to reset it.
Yeah.
And now we're in an era where editorial, if there is such a thing at Marvel, is so hyper focused on making sure that Spider-Man, that we don't have like a almost nuclear, you know, fallout from the Spencer run, you know, because Spencer almost undid One More Day. We can't ever let that happen again. We got to make sure all hands are on deck focusing on this thing. And uncreative people are like focusing on this book that is art, you know, and they're shepherding this book on a constant basis. And so as a result, like no creativity can ever take place under a microscope or under 6 microscopes.
Right.
And especially if it is like, you're supposed to be the highest performing book of ours. You're supposed to be a pleaser. You're supposed to be, you know, this thing, especially when like, you know, that editors in chief and, you know, publishers have their own opinion about one of the most like recognizable superheroes and characters in all of fiction. So it's like, you know, you'll have a run that's celebrated or people enjoy or even is divisive, like Straczynski's run. And Quesada comes in and he's like, I have a different opinion about who Spider-Man is. So I'm going to push that.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got people who have a vested interest in making sure Spider-Man works and makes money and keeps the company afloat, but also they like secretly want to make him this and that and the other thing. Like, you know, yeah, we got to make sure this is getting us into the black, but also, you know, let me get this in here. Let me get that in there. Let me put this in there. Also, they're in a weird position where they're like, he can never be married, but we can also never let Mary Jane go away because Mary Jane is a beloved character that sells books.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, she will always be like just she'll be like Nora Freeze, just sitting under glass.
That sucks.
Character-wise.
Yeah.
She'll be floating there, and Spider-Man will always be just looking at her and touching the glass, being like, I can never be with you again. Because they'll never let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So Spider-Man's just... Spider-Man what-if books, Spider-Man side books, Spider-Man original graphic novels.
Yeah.
That'll be where you get, like, genuine creativity with the character. But, like, Amazing Spider-Man will never be a good book again.
Right, and it's so funny because it's like somehow with Batman, like there have been some pretty creatively bankrupt series. There have been some obvious cash grab series, but like in the mix of that, there have been some really great series.
Yes.
And there's just something about that character that allows for that.
Batman's just too big.
Right, where you can like create a story that feels like it's definitely the writer's vision without it feeling like it's editorially driven.
Right.
And it just feels like now like Spider-Man is only like designed by committee in a way where it's like not about someone's idea like seen to the finish line. It's more like, hey, we need to do like these are the things that have to happen. It's like creating like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Where it's like just a whole bunch of people all getting their input in and all making sure that this thing, this mascot works. Because that's what Spider-Man is. He's a mascot.
Yeah.
You know, Disney doesn't make Mickey cartoons without like 17 lawyers all deciding what he did in that cartoon. That's why they don't make Mickey cartoons anymore, you know, because it's too big.
They did for a little bit.
I know they did those new ones. Yeah. But I'll bet it was a bitch and a half to make.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, that's the thing is I was thinking about that. I was like complaining about this run while also looking at like that Zdarsky Batman run and how, or that Ram V detective book. Those are the flagship Batman books, and they're both tonally consistent with the creators and going in a direction that, like, if Marvel was in charge of that character, it'd be like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah,
we got to make sure you might irrevocably break the character, and it's like Batman and Spider-Man are two characters you can't irrevocably break. Like, you broke Spider-Man by making him less special by putting him against a million other Spider-Men.
Right.
That are all the same fucking character forever. You've diminished him forever, and there's the only Oscar-winning Spider-Man movie of all time is about that.
Yeah.
So he's inexorably connected to being less special because he's around other characters that are just like him. Like,
well, maybe
so he's ruined already. You might as well just have him do whatever.
Well, maybe what they need to do now is like maybe it's time to like let Peter go to the smaller book.
Yeah.
Where you can tell stories like Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil and let Miles come into the main book.
Yeah, they're really afraid of that.
And be like, here.
They're really afraid of that.
Oh,
like you could tell because Miles is just like a book that I haven't read in a long time.
Right, but like, you know, like that way like Peter can go and do whatever the hell
some like really like hungry creator who wants to sell the book. The problem is though, Daredevil by Zdarsky and Chichetto would suck if it was really big, because then Marvel would go, whoa, this is too big. Now we got to make sure you don't fuck it up, and then in turn fuck it up.
Yeah.
Comic books. Silver Cricket, my personal opinion of the Romita art for Spider-Man is it feels like spectacular Spider-Man art and not Amazing Spider-Man art. Amazing Spider-Man hasn't had great artists on it consistently in decades. They've had great artists work on it, but not in a consistent manner. Like the most consistent one is Bagley, who drew Spider-Man 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's
Dunk Pacino says, totally unrelated, but if you could get Hickman to do one DC series on any character team, which would it be? I mean, the New Gods. Or the Green Lantern Corps.
It's pretty good too.
Right?
I immediately went Justice League Dark, but that's just so obvious. Challenges of the Unknown.
He would love that. Just because of his Fantastic Four run. You have any others? Or
maybe JSA.
Yeah. I know Rob from Comics Explains really wants him to do JSA.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do JSA.
No, I'm sure.
Rob was like, you should do JSA. He's like, I don't want to do JSA.
That's fair. No, I like Green Lantern. Like that's pretty good.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's space.
Yeah. I'll tell you something off mic that he told me personally.
Okay.
Ray Farr, in Comic Time, how long did Spider-Man wear the black suit? Didn't he wear the suit for like 5 years in real time? Also revived Sin Eater. Yeah, read the Spencer run. Sin Eater came back to life and was like a ghost or some nonsense. Yeah, Spider-Man, I don't know how long. I would assume it's like a year. Maybe 6 months. 6 months to a year is probably in comic book time.
I would like it if this is not going to happen, but in Spider-Man, like in the Amazing Spider-Man right now, like you're dealing with Norman, right?
Yeah.
Like off, like not in front of Norman, but like in a side thing, one of the Ghost Riders show up and they're talking to Peter and they're like, that's not real.
Right. He's just pretending.
Yeah, or he thinks that it changed him, so therefore like it's in his head.
Right, but it's not.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Like that shoe is gonna drop.
Oh, yeah, well, we know it's going to.
I know, but I would love for Ghost Rider to be like,
yeah,
what?
That's not how that works.
That's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, because you can't have Strange do it. Or I guess Clea could do it.
Clea would be cool.
Like Spidey shows up, he's like, oh right.
Oh hey.
Oh, Steve's dead.
Steve's not back yet?
Anyway, she's like, and he's talking about whatever, and she's like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Why would you think that was a thing?
Because I'm a fucking idiot.
Don't you know anything?
No. No, I don't. I'm still wearing my underwear from when I was 15. Potassium to the heart. Shout out to Vinyl Cracked, who finished his bachelor's degrees in biology today. More time for comics.
Yay!
Good for him. Congratulations.
Awesome. I love Potassium to the Heart and Vinyl Cracked. They are adorable.
It's Potassium to the heart.
And congratulations.
Yeah.
For finishing that. That's an incredible achievement.
Totes my goats. Kirk Pectus, have you read the BVS parody short CB Joker versus Bizarro? It's hilarious. Joker wants to kill Bizarro. If there's a 10% chance he'll kill more innocent people. No, I've never heard of that. That's all I have. I'm sorry.
That is all I have.
I have never heard of that. Dante Cook, Sal, you were totally in my head when I saw and bought a trade paperback of Claw, a sad Conan-like barbarian with a claw for a hand. Lol. Any idea that needs to never see the light of day again? Keep the lights on. Yeah, I've never heard of Claw.
Well, I assume like it was a like you when you find something you just grab it, you read it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Not quite an issue, but it was a trade. But
right,
like,
there's so many of those though. Yeah, I mean that's why I read the Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover.
Yeah.
Derpies to derps. Marvel likely never going to let Miles be the big Spider-Man book. They're too afraid of alienating some of their audience, even though Miles would bring in more people than would alienate. Well, plus, like Miles stars in the one Oscar-winning Spider-Man movie, and like they're alienating people by making a crappy Spider-Man.
Well,
book.
I was going to say what they would need to do is like they've run out of good faith, I think, for this character for a lot of people, and so like what they would need to do is prove that if Peter went over to this other book that was like maybe smaller, that like Peter could do more things that they feel like the character should be doing, at least in the spirit of them, and let Miles just take that book. It's like, no, you still get that.
Right.
But like, we need to keep the Amazing Spider-Man brand going. And right now, like, this isn't working quite so well.
Yeah. Hogshead, have you guys read the Lazarus series? No.
I have seen it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Even though immediately my brain put Pit afterwards. I was like, that is not what it is, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. Let's recommend some comics that are coming out this week that we think that you should buy.
Do that.
Naturally, Nightwing number 95 is coming out. I'm going to check that out. Love the cover. Of course, it's friggin' Redondo. That's great. Hulk number 8 is coming out. I think that Banner of War is over, so we can get back into Hulk, although I see Gary Frank's art on the cover, so it's probably just more Banner of War. I got to go back and read it. I haven't read any of Banner of War, so I got to go back and read all of it, especially in light of one of the upcoming back issues episodes that we filmed. World's Finest number 6, Batman Superman. Definitely, this is a great series. Dan Mora, Mark Waid. You should be reading this already. Daredevil number 2 is, I believe, a 450th issue legacy book. So as a result, it's double-sized.
I think it's 650.
Yeah, 650. There you go. But check that out. Of course, Daredevil's a great book. We were just saying his prices just a minute ago. So yeah, it's a fantastic series, and the book is gorgeous looking and all of that. Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler number 1 is coming out from Mitch Gerrards and Tom King. Duh, I'm gonna check that out in a heartbeat. The One Bad Day is an interesting concept, and I'm excited to see it executed in this. It's not going to be the pairing for the next one. They're doing One Bad Day, prestige-bound original stories, one-shots. It's like DC remembered what the hell they were, but of Mr. Freeze, Catwoman.
And interesting, not Black Label.
Yeah, but it is. Like it's unrated.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Savage Avengers #4 is coming out with the reveal of who this Deathlock turned out to be.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of fun, and Peppo's having a blast making this series, and I have a feeling that if you haven't already, you will as well. So check that out as well. Tiffany?
This one's gonna be. This is just like I get it because now we're in an event, so we gotta like. But like it feels like lately, just because they had that screw up with like shipping and like whatever and printing things, that like I've just been getting slammed some weeks with books, and like this week is gonna be one of those. X-Men #13 is coming out.
Great
It is
book.
going to be tied into Judgment Day. There's no way you could
Can't.
you like that's gonna happen. So if you're not into the Judgment Day event that's going on, I don't know how this is gonna go for you, but I would trust in the creative team for this.
Yes.
New Mutants #28 is coming out. I don't think that this is tied in.
No banner, so I don't think
Judgment
so.
Day. Well, because this, I believe, is taking place beforehand. Magic's in another place in this. She's clearly involved in the event, so
yes.
I don't think that this is part of that. So if you are reading New Mutants and you're not reading the event, definitely grab this. Strange #5 is coming out. We're going to get the reveal of whose hand that is.
Oh, who's the dead guy?
Or not, because covers lie all the time.
They sure do.
Also, A.X.E. Death to the Mutants #1. This is just a book that is a straight up tie-in.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna grab it.
Yeah.
But there's just no way I'm not gonna grab it. I think it's written by Gillen. It is. So
well, then I guess you gotta read it. Look at that ribbit cover.
I literally can't help myself.
Yeah.
I'm a simp.
Yeah.
X-Force #30 is coming out. Also a Judgment Day, like part of that whole thing going on there. Again, it makes sense. We're talking about like the police force of Krakoa that isn't the Legionnaires.
Right.
I just want to give a shout out. I kind of fell off of this book after the first issue. But X-Men #92, House of 92 is #4 is coming out. So if you were reading that and were interested in like what the animated series would be like if they had Krakoa, check it out. You know, maybe they'll do that in the other, like in the actual new series coming up, the new animated series. Avengers, I thought this was coming out. I thought this already came out.
Yeah.
But I guess it didn't, and I might check it out because I can't help myself. Avengers 1,000,000 BC #1.
I would have assumed this is a thing already, but apparently not. It was in Marvel Legacy #1. I think that was like the last, like that was like the introduction of them.
I'm like weirdly interested. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to read this, but I'm weirdly interested in this.
Yeah,
so maybe
that is weird.
Maybe.
I forgot, by the way, Do a Powerbomb #3 comes out. If you haven't already picked it up, you should, because it's a fun series and it's very different from what you're reading normally.
There you go. Someone mentioned this. This is a book I've fallen off of. But I'm probably gonna grab the first volume when it comes out. But Bloodstained Teeth #5 is coming out, so I'm just giving you a heads up for those who are a fan of that series. All the way down, way here at the bottom, is another X-Men book, X-Men Unlimited, X-Men Green #1. Again, we'll see if I'm able to get to this one, but it is written by Jerry Duggan,
who's like the new whatever architect of the of the X-Men universe.
Yeah, interesting looking team here.
Yeah.
Very interesting looking team. I'm not quite getting like Hellions vibes, but like same sort of like, hey, here's like a random grouping of people. We'll see what Duggan can bring to the table with this group. But like I said, there's so much coming out this week that I'm not sure we're gonna get to all of it.
No.
Next show.
Right.
But we'll definitely try. I will definitely try to get as much in as I can, but
same.
There's some things that you mentioned I want to read too. Like it's a heavy week, unfortunately.
It is. Fortunately for creativity, unfortunately for
your wallet.
Yes. What was it? Shin Tokanada says, Sal, don't care about Shazam or JSA. Me sending both. Okay. I will say, don't send me The Power of Shazam, which was the Jerry Ordway series. I already own it, so check that out. Somebody asked also if since they probably read Immortal Hulk already, if there are any other Hulk runs. I mean, you should read the Peter David run. There's like a ton of Peter David Hulk, but it's like he's the architect. Also the Greg Pak run is not a bad place to continue with the Hulk as well. So those are your Hulks. And we want to just thank you so much for hanging out with us and supporting the channel, subscribing to the channel, giving this video a like, going over to youtube.com/ComicPop and subscribing over there. We'd love to just press on. We'd love for this channel to hit at least 20 to 25,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Who knows if we will, but it'd be cool to get there. We want to especially thank our super chatters for sponsoring today's show. And of course, if you haven't already, check out all the other links in the description and check out what we have here And visit Tiffany on twitch.tv/ComicPop and see what she is up to on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And we'll see you guys next week with an all-new episode of Off the Rack. And, of course, more coming out. We've got GBU Shot. We've got our Comic-Con at ZapCon in Wayne on September 10th. And, of course, back issues on Wednesdays and all the little like shorts and whatnot that are coming out interspersed throughout the week.
That's right.
And we'll see you guys next time. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
So long, everybody.
Bye.